Well, yesterday in your reading of history, you learned about some of the changes that had occurred in the United States there right after World War One. There were many inventions that came out that changed a lot of things, especially the telephone. I think that was probably one of the primary means of change, although that wasn't the only one. Certainly, there were other changes as far as the different types of entertainment that people were able to have. The phonograph, movies, those type of things started to become more common and more affordable for people. Did you notice the reference to Seattle in one of those pictures? I don't know if you noticed, but if you go back and look on page 254, you'll see there on the right side of that poster it says Seattle Children's Theater. It says Flight, a living newspaper play, March 5th, 12th, and the 19th. And it says it was at the Federal Theater, which is in Rainier and at Rainier and Atlantic. Now, pretty interesting to see some of these things that are here. One of the things I think that was a big change, though, that really helped, that changed our culture, probably more than anything, was people's basic beliefs about God. And you had a big influx, or an influx because they didn't come from somewhere else, but basically of ideas. I guess you had a change in ideas of people who wanted to open up Christianity to other things. This is the reason that groups like Salvation Army and others stopped focusing on reaching out to others for Christ and focused more on physical needs and things like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with meeting people's physical needs. It's probably something, not probably, but it's definitely something that we as Christians ought to do, either as a church or individually or both. Yet, at this time, the change came that it became focused primarily on reaching people through meeting their physical needs as opposed to really reaching them with the gospel. But today's reading that you're going to be doing is going to be from pages 256 to 258. Now, here we're talking about the Scopes trial. If you remember, I mentioned that yesterday. The Scopes trial was talking about the creationism or evolution on trial, and evolution lost. However, because of the lawyers that argued the case, creationists looked foolish and looked uneducated. And in some respects, they probably were. However, people have a tendency to accept scientists just because a scientist or somebody who is educated says something as being true. Now, remember one thing. Just because somebody is educated and they say that they know the answer, doesn't mean they don't, but don't just accept it out of hand. For instance, if they're coming from a perspective of evolution, then we have to make sure that we understand that, so that when they say something or they try to tell us something, then we understand that that is through a different filter than what we would believe in. Doesn't mean they're not right about something. For instance, doctors know that vaccines work on people to prevent them getting any kind of disease or virus. It's worked on polio. We've pretty much eradicated. I say we as human beings have eradicated polio from the world generally. It does not completely gone, but certainly not many people suffer from it anymore. And that amongst many other diseases. They also know that certain foods, they know how foods work in our bodies. They know a lot of things about us. They've learned some things. And so these do not make scientists or make doctors or anybody like that who studies those things, doesn't make them evil people because they believe these things or because they believe in evolution. The thought of evolution may not come into the actual science part of it, but it is a danger, and so you have to be careful. The answer to everything is not drugs, and a lot of doctors will tell you that there's a drug out there to change things. What they're finding out more and more is that the healthier you are, the better you take care of yourself. Your body, the thing that God created, actually is the best weapon against an enemy to your body, disease or cancer or something like that. However, during this time, we had a fight, I guess you could say, a battle between the fundamentalists and modernists during this time, especially in the church and especially in the Christianity, amongst Christianity. Remember, the United States was founded as a Christian nation. It followed the Bible. It followed the teachings teachings of Jesus Christ. And so anyway, so we have then what starts to happen is liberalism, which is basically allowing worldly type of activities, and not that all activities are necessarily worldly because they're different, but that was one of the things in the sense of doctrine, in the sense of theology, the study of God, how people viewed God and how God was different. Fundamentalists, just because you're fundamentalist doesn't mean that you have everything correct either. Pharisees generally were fundamentalist in their beliefs about God in the times of Christ. What they didn't understand was really truly what the Bible said. And so our study of the Bible would be the most important fight against any kind of false ideas against the Bible. And so you'll be reading that today, and I hope that that goes well for you. And go ahead and make sure that you are caught up, and then and do the assignments that you have, which are pages 179 to 181, and I think that's correct. Yes, it is. And so that is our assignment for today, 179 to 181. Have a good day. Bye.